Just 3 short years ago, residents of the south and west sides of Chicago voted overwhelmingly for a radical progressive to be their mayor. He promised them the moon, city-owned grocery stores, lower food costs, and of course, defunding the police. Now, those same residents of the south and west sides of Chicago are standing in front of boarded-up windows where their grocery stores used to be. And the company that ran them just walked away for good. Multiple stores gone in a single Saturday. Stick them to the very end of this video because we're about to find out what happens when socialist promises clash with social reality and how the city of Chicago has become yet the latest victim of a progressive left that is ironically destroying its own. Hey gang, it's me, Dr. Steve, your patron professor here to help you make sense of the madness with breaking news and analysis you're not going to get anywhere else. So you know what to do. Make sure to smack that bell and subscribe button. I don't know how many of you are familiar with the grocery store chain Save-A-Lot. Save-A-Lot operates stores across Chicago's south and west sides under a licensing arrangement with Ohio-based operator Yellow Banana, serving neighborhoods with otherwise limited access to fresh and affordable food. The city had backed these locations with a $26 million redevelopment deal for Yellow Banana, including over $13 million in direct taxpayer financing. But alas, it was all for naught. 7, count that, 7 Save-A-Lot grocery stores across Chicago's south and west sides have permanently closed their doors as of this past Saturday. They officially closed after citing what operators called, quote, ongoing financial problems. At the West Lawn location, shelves were bare, produce was gone, and whatever was left was marked down 50% as shoppers scrambled to grab what they could before the lights went off for good. Obviously, residents were beside themselves, especially given the fact that these grocery stores were taxpayer funded.
It's just opened up, now it's about to close down again. We have nothing, so I don't know what we're gonna do. There's nothing around here.
I mean, it's gonna affect the community for sure. Everybody gonna have to travel out now and go to big grocery stores. And what about the people who don't got transportation that ain't able to make it to the big grocery stores?
That's a reasonable store in the neighborhood, The rest of them around here is so expensive.
Now, the official corporate line, the one getting repeated across local news, is that this is about financial headwinds and cuts to SNAP benefits. Now, sure, a 26% drop in SNAP and EBT sales didn't help, for sure. But if you actually dig into the history of these specific stores, you find a pattern that the polite corporate statements conveniently leave out. Back in 2023, one of these very same Save-A-Lot locations in Washington Park was closed indefinitely after a break-in where vandals ripped computer equipment off the walls and stole thousands of dollars in inventory and electrical wiring. That store, by the way, had opened in a building that used to be a Whole Foods store that itself had already fled that very neighborhood because of the pervasiveness of theft. So Save-A-Lot didn't just fail on its own. It moved into the wreckage left behind by a previous grocery chain that theft had already destroyed. And residents on social media, they're not buying the financial headwinds excuse for 1 second. Over the weekend, comment after comment are calling these stores Steal-A-Lot. And they're pointing out that the reporting completely left out retail theft as the real driver for the closing of these stores. At least some in the legacy media have been reporting on what's being called an epidemic of shoplifting that's infesting the city of Chicago. And it's caused more economic devastation and ruin than anyone in the legacy media wants to admit. Walmart closed 4 locations in the city. Whole Foods pulled out of neighborhoods that it once championed as a solution to food deserts. And every single time you hear the same thing from residents, from employees, from local reporters who are willing to admit it, people walking in filling their bags up and then walking straight past security because employees have been instructed not to physically stop them. Grocery stores operate, as you know, on razor-thin profit margins to begin with. They can't absorb that level of loss indefinitely, so they leave. And when they leave, it's the poor and the elderly residents, the very people progressive leftists claim to be fighting for, who are left with nowhere to buy food. So how did Chicago get to a place where retail theft became so normalized that entire grocery chains can't survive? We're about to meet the official who has single-handedly done more to wreck this city than perhaps any previous politician, and what he did is going to absolutely blow you away. Almost as stunning as this new parasite that the CDC just identified. Have you been hearing about this? There's been an explosive diarrhea outbreak in the United States this summer, and the CDC just confirmed the culprit. It's a new parasite found in grocery store fruits and vegetables, which has exposed hundreds of millions of Americans across over 30 states. The CDC is investigating a multi-state outbreak of cyclospora, parasite linked to contaminated fresh produce. It can create severe diarrhea, stomach cramps, nausea, fatigue, and other debilitating symptoms. Now, if you get sick, the CDC recommends a standard antibiotic. Most people know it by its brand name, Bactrim. And that's why the wellness company created the medical emergency kit with generic Bactrim plus 7 additional prescription medications to help treat more than 25 common illnesses and medical emergencies, all prescribed before you need them. Getting your kit is so simple. Complete a secure online medical questionnaire. If approved by a licensed physician, your kit ships directly to your door. Don't wait until you're sick to wish you were prepared. Visit twc.health/Turley and use code Turley to save up to $45 off and free shipping. Kits available to U.S. residents only. Meet Mayor Brandon Johnson. Back in 2020, as then Cook County Commissioner, Johnson introduced a non-binding resolution to redirect funds away from the police budget into social services. He was a passionate advocate of defunding the police in the wake of the BLM riots that burned down our nation's cities. By the time he ran for mayor in 2023, with 2/3 of Chicago residents naming public safety concerns their top concern, Johnson tried to walk that back, insisting his approach doesn't entail defunding the police. But here's the thing. You don't actually have to sign the executive order in order to do the damage. When the man about to run your city spends years as one of the loudest national voices for stripping police funding and shrinking enforcement, that rhetoric filters all the way down. It tells officers on patrol that leadership don't got your back. It tells prosecutors that aggressive enforcement is not a priority. And it tells criminals, quite plainly, that the cost of getting caught just went way, way down. You don't need a formal policy to foster a culture of lawlessness. You just need the people in charge to keep suggesting that enforcement is itself the problem. And once that culture takes hold, this is exactly what happens. Retailers don't need a press release announcing the police won't stop you anymore. They just watch their loss numbers climb. They just watch employees get told to stand down. They watch break-ins go unsolved with no suspects in custody. And eventually they just do the math. And what do? They leave. It's not complicated. It's not mysterious. It's just consequences of an insane leftist ideology. An insane leftist ideology that's even now wreaking havoc in our nation's cities in the form of what's technically called municipal socialism, a governing philosophy that has consistently failed across multiple jurisdictions and time periods. And the data is both undeniable and devastating. Socialist-style municipal programs show a 78% failure rate within 5 years, according to urban policy research from the Manhattan Institute. These are policies that have bankrupted municipalities from Detroit to Stockton, from Philly to Chicago, and most recently Kansas City. You may have seen this, but a few months back, a government-run grocery store in Kansas City closed because of the inordinately high cost of a combination of factors: safety concerns, difficulty maintaining inventory, but most especially, of course, theft, shoplifting. And this despite millions, we're talking tens of millions of dollars in taxpayer funding, upwards of $30 million in tax revenue to subsidize it, and it still had to shut down. Municipal socialism is a recipe for guaranteed financial and social disaster. But that's unfortunately what we're seeing in more and more of our nation's cities. It's being called the Detroitification of our cities. And Chicago, at least when it comes to its south and west sides, is looking more like Mogadishu than it is the Magnificent Mile. That's the socialist playbook in miniature. Government fails to maintain basic order. Private industry flees as a rational response. And instead of fixing the root cause, government proposes to replace the private industry it chased away with your money. And then the entire cycle begins again, but now with tax-subsidized businesses boarding up their windows at your cost. So here's the bottom line. 7 grocery stores didn't close because of a spreadsheet in Ohio. They closed because years of soft-on-crime rhetoric, starting with a mayor who spent his early career campaigning to strip police resources, created a city where stealing became functionally risk-free. And now the very communities that policy claimed to protect are the very ones standing in empty aisles, wondering where they're supposed to buy groceries next week. This is what municipal socialism actually delivers. Not utopia, but food deserts with a government logo slapped on the now chained up doors. So what do you guys think? Do you think that these cities are ever going to learn their lesson and start voting for a free market alternative? Or is the Detroitification of our cities just beginning? Let me know in the comments section below. And as always, make sure to smack that bell and subscribe button for breaking news and analysis you're not going to get anywhere else. Love you guys. God bless. Oh, and by the way, we are on MSN now, and the growth has been crazy. Hit the link, check out today's article there, and help us put a little truth into the normies' news feed.